Hello, dear friends. When we say that someone's data is visible, we mean that we can see what his or her underlying intentions are. A feather duster is a mallet or bundle of feathers or other material attached to a handle used for dusting. Opinion P. You can see the duster. Like a cornered animal, an economic hurricane is humming. All the crises are aligned. A turbulent week in the markets. Next Monday will be a 666 day. This change will last until 2030. It means the end of the game or game over. The biggest credit bubble in history. Sense of doom in the banking sector. Microsoft sounds the alarm on the crisis. Storm clouds over the world economy. Darkness will have to go underground. Germany prepares a 10-day food stockpile. Elon Musk has bad feeling about the economy. Let's start. Journalist Alex Newman says globalists fear that people are realizing that they are trying to do in countries around the world. Things are not going as well in their supposedly great restart as they had anticipated. Newman explains, they are at the moment of do or die. Next Monday is the 6th day of month 6 and year 6 if you add up their numbers. This symbolic figure means that the game is over or game over at 6 o'clock in the morning or in the evening. But it doesn't mean that it will manifest itself instantly like Nescafe, but that game over will be officially declared by the Harlequin in the Mosque of Cordoba, Spain. It's like sowing the seed of change. According to Cryon, the shift started on December 21st, 2012, but in reality it started 18 years before that and will last 18 years after that. It is to say 2030, the famous orc agenda, which means we are right in the middle of this shift. This particular 36-year window has energy within it that is unlike any other that has ever existed on the planet. You will find strange things happening in the news. It signifies a higher consciousness. The old energy on this planet will kick and scream when it sees the light begin to come, because all kinds of things will happen. Inappropriate things will be seen and the world will begin to change. Prejudice and intolerance will begin to be exposed and will have to change. The darkness will have to go underground. The light is winning and you can see it in the reaction of humankind. The energy is different today than it was 2 years ago. It is full of promise for the things you are thinking about. The orcs try to retreat. There is no retreat. People are waking up at such a rapid pace. They are at a point where they are going to have to go all out and try to force everything through a full speed, or they are going to be in big trouble. Right now, there are already investigations going on in the courts, and that's a problem. They realize that if they don't move very quickly, they will lose everything. They could possibly end up facing liability. Artificial shortages. In quotes, he who controls the food supply controls the people. He who controls energy can control whole continents. He who controls money can control the world, said Henry Kissinger. If they control seeds, they control food. And if they control food, they can use digital identification to control consumer access to food. The global food system, and protein sources in particular, are currently under attack in order to produce food shortages. They intend to eliminate traditional agriculture and livestock farming and replace it with indoor-grown produce and lab-created protein alternatives. I think we are now in a very dangerous situation. When people find themselves in a position like that, they don't have many options. They either cheat or they just bring it all down. The way things are going at the moment, with inflation out of control, the food crisis and famine, they have all the crises lined up and they don't have many options left to play with. Newman believes the next move could be a combination of crises that would include the collapse of purchasing power and food crisis. Newman warns, in quotes, "Desperate people do desperate things. It's like with a cornered animal. When you have an animal in that situation, it really has few options left other than to attack or do something dangerous. And I think that's where we are. They need crisis to advance their agenda, and they have to turn people against each other. Divide and conquer." Warnings. Businesses are stepping up their warnings about the economy. Some of the most outspoken corporate leaders have begun to intensify alarms about decades-high inflation and impending interest rate hikes. The sense of doom has been especially evident in the banking sector. Credit bubble. Spitnagel, founder of Miami-based Universal Investments, whose fund aims to protect clients during black swan events, says the financial system is most vulnerable to the biggest credit bubble in history. If this bubble ever bursts, it will be the most catastrophic market failure in history. But let's hope that doesn't happen, he said, in quotes. Elon Musk has, in quotes, a super bad feeling about the economy and wants to cut 10% of Tesla's jobs, he said in an email to executives on Thursday. Musk's stock warning of a possible recession and the ripple effect for automakers in the most direct and high-profile forecast of its kind in the industry. Musk rectifies after threatening to lay off 10% of Tesla's workforce. Entrepreneur Elon Musk rectified Friday that Tesla will lay off only 10% of its office staff, not the entire company as he had said on Thursday, sending the company's stock market tumbling. Microsoft alarm. Software makers that have been battered amid this year's stock slump took another hit this week when Microsoft Corp warned of even more headwinds ahead. Economic hurricane. An economic hurricane is coming, writes Frida Gihitz on CNN. In quotes, "The hurricane is right in our path." JP Morgan Chase chief executive Jamie Dimon said Wednesday, adding a warning to his ominous economic forecast. In quotes, "We just don't know if it's minor or superstorm Sandy. You better get ready." For the developed world, the prospect of a severe recession is deeply worrying. In poorer countries, the growing fear and already present danger is what the World Food Programme calls a looming hunger catastrophe. When the economy shrinks and the poverty rate rises, political systems shudder. And we are already seeing this in some countries. This crisis paralyzed supply chains as companies reduced or stopped production altogether. Shipping and logistics were trapped, driving prices even higher. Changing ideas about work led millions of people to quit their jobs, many of them refusing to take jobs they could have filled before the crisis, and severely disrupting labor markets. Governments pumped in cash to keep people afloat, fueling inflation that now forces central bankers to raise interest rates and take other painful measures. Gasoline prices are soaring around the world, as are food prices. Staff shortages have become the bane of employers. Help wanted signs are posted in Amsterdam, Bruges, and many other European cities, and some companies are reducing their operating hours because of a lack of workers. Staff shortages are also causing endless queues at airports across Europe. Europe should also work on boost Ukrainian grain exports by rail, in addition to maritime routes. Poverty and hunger drive large migrations and lead to political instability. Colombia. Petro or Hernández? The great dilemma of a Colombian vote that dethrones the elite and minimizes the political center. The Colombian political elite, as we know it, is, as of this Sunday, a nucleus that doesn't lead Colombian society. The majorities do not see themselves represented by powers that have taken over the institutions of the Colombian state. In Colombia, where the crisis decimated the middle class and sent millions into poverty, the first round of last week's presidential elections produced a shocking result. After decades of electing center or center-right presidents, Colombian voters set the table for a June 19 run-off between a leftist former guerrilla, Senator Gustavo Petro, who promises profound change, and Rodolfo Hernández, a largely unknown 77-year-old. With the majority of Colombians experiencing food insecurity and 40% living in poverty, voters chose two anti-establishment figures, possibly the reaction of traumatized people by economic headwinds and worsening inequality. Economy. Global stock markets fall in treasury yields rise. Stocks fall 0.22% of Wall Street after jobs data. The IBEX 35 falls 2.3% in a week, with a full week of falls, but saves the 8,700 points. Gold markets continue to show volatility. Dollar rises as job growth exceeds expectations. Fed may have to stick to half-point rate hikes. The Fed is shrinking its balance sheet under pressure, making a soft landing almost impossible. History shows that inflation can take years to return to normal. The Solana network is down again for 6 hours. Crypto scam victims lose more than $1 billion since 2021. Oil prices climb back above $120 a barrel. Oil posts its 6th weekly gain. A turbulent week for oil markets. OPEC agrees to accelerate oil production after US pressure. Food. War in the food industry to sell cheap at the cost of reducing quality. Food production is collapsing as fertilizer runs out. Ukraine war aggravates existing global food crisis. United Nations wars. The crisis is holding back progress on sustainable development, according to a United Nations report. Wheat futures fall as Ukraine exports wheat. African Union urges lifting of sanctions on Russian wheat and fertilizers. US added 390,000 jobs in May. White hats to oversee midterm elections. Real Raw News says an operation has been set up to monitor the November elections. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Jennifer Bridget O'Malley Dillon, arrested at Washington, D.C. hotel. A Florida school raffles off rifles and pistols among students and teachers. Amazon tracks every minute of its employees who say they avoid drinking water or going to the bathroom. Los Angeles initiates watering restrictions as draft progresses. California regulators approve the state's first fleet of robotic taxis. Judges rule that bumblebees are legally fish in California to prevent their extinction. Jumping worms in California. An invasive Asian species of worm known for its voracious appetite and ability to jump a foot is causing alarm in California, where scientists have expressed concern about the threat the worms pose to forest ecosystems. Scientists can reverse aging in mice. The goal is to do the same for humans. If we can fly a space station, we can save the planet, says one astronaut. Europe. European stocks closed the week lower. Europe is causing a global shortage of energy resources, reports CNN. The EC says European Commission says Croatia's entry into the Eurozone will strengthen Europe. Military support for Ukraine has depleted European Union arms stocks. The European Union bans technical assistance and funding for Russian oil shipments. Germany prepares a 10-day food stockpile. German lawmakers approve €100 billion military modernization. Neutral Switzerland details rules for arms re-exports. Turkey. Turkey changes its international name from Turkey to Turkey. Turkey's inflation reaches its fastest level since 1998, with an increase of over 73%. Turkey launches operation in Syria to control 600 kilometers of border. Turkey to deploy military drones with machine guns. Spain. Spain debates voting at 16. It has been 14 years since Spain had this level of unemployment, according to Yolanda Díaz. Spain will grant more work visas to combat labor shortages. Spanish police free 19 Spanish-American women subjected to exploitation. Repsol rises 40% so far this year. Americas. Mexico searches for those missing in the wake of Hurricane Agatha. Agatha ravages southern Oaxaca. Hurricane leaves at least 10 dead and 20 missing. The current electoral process in Mexico is going on with 85 assaults and no murders. WEC concludes in El Tubo, a clandestine farm in Mexico, from which more than 10,000 skeletal remains were extracted. Hope fades for the 14 people missing in a Colombian mine. Increase in the number of Colombian migrants on the southern border of the USA. The Uruguayan government approves an artificial island in Montevideo. It will have a marina for 300 boats and 36 real estate lots. Bank credit revives in Venezuela after a 4-year freeze. Venezuela's oil exports plummet to 19-month lows due to port delays. New symbols in Caracas to reclaim indigenous tradition and leave its colonial past behind. Biden invites Argentine president to Washington in July. Argentina's economic paradox: rich on the outside, poor on the inside. Controversy in Peru over an audio in which the head of Congress admits her intention to remove only the president in quotes. High-profile Hispanic group makes $60 million cash deal to buy 18 radio stations in the US. Nearly all asylum seekers in Los Angeles lack legal counsel and face deportation, according to a report. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.